Welcome back to another episode of The Radio Psychs, your premier podcast for insights into everything mental health. I'm Dr. Aaron Haddock.
And I'm Dr. Rhonda Yu. We're psychologists who care about people and bringing science to practice.
And we're so glad to have you join us.
Please note that the information shared in this episode is solely intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical or mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Today's episode is on understanding and managing anger.
Hey, Rondi, have you heard about these places called rage rooms?
Oh yeah, where people go to vent their anger by smashing stuff? They seem to be popping up everywhere.
I know, and I gotta say, it seems like the world is more on edge lately.
Yeah, it does. Recent research shows that anger and stress levels are rising worldwide. Gallup's annual global survey of emotions found that over 20% of people report feeling angry regularly, and over 40% report feeling stressed.
Interesting. What's driving this?
Well, a lot of it stems from ongoing crises and stressors. The pandemic, social upheaval, political unrest, and economic hardship have significantly heightened stress and anger for folks around the world.
Makes sense. The American Psychological Association's Stress in America 2023 survey found that political polarization, racial injustice, and economic pressures are major contributors to increased anger levels in the U.S.
Yeah, sounds right. These macro-level issues can really affect us on a personal level. And it's also important to consider how anger is regulated by culture and social norms.
How so?
Well, take the fact that many more boys and men receive therapy for anger issues compared to women. Why is that?
I follow you. Probably because they've received messages from society that it's more acceptable to be angry than sad. So they channel their emotions into anger. I've worked with a lot of young men that seem angry, but at the core, they're often struggling with depression.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen a lot of that too.
And when we're dealing with high levels of anger in a society, it can lead to serious problems like increased violence, radicalization, and a decline in empathy that can impact the health and stability of a society as a whole. It's an important topic that's probably not receiving enough attention.
Yeah. Okay, let's start with the basics. What exactly is anger? Aaron, can you shed some light on this?
You bet. Anger is defined as a natural emotional response to perceived threats, injustices, wrongs, or frustrations. For example, feeling disrespected, treated unfairly, cheated, or blocked from achieving a goal can spark anger.
And there's also a biological component to anger, often driven by the amygdala, a cluster deep in the brain's limbic system.
When we get angry, our sympathetic nervous system is activated and our brain releases chemicals like adrenaline and cortisol, giving us a surge of energy and preparing us for a fight or flight response.
Anger is essentially a protective mechanism that's played a critical role in our survival as a species because it facilitates our ability to defend ourselves and our resources against threats.
Right. While these days, we don't often face the kinds of physical threats early humans did, this response still kicks in when we perceive threats or injustices.
And it's not just about physical threats. Anger also helps us assert our boundaries and stand up for ourselves when we feel wronged or disrespected.
Which highlights that anger itself isn't inherently bad. It can motivate us to take action and can be a powerful force for change.
Definitely. However, we've got to remember that when we get angry, our focus narrows and our thinking can become more rigid and less flexible, which is why it's often hard to see other perspectives or find solutions when we're in the heat of the moment. Anger can also cloud our judgment, making us more likely to act impulsively.
And these psychological changes are accompanied by a range of physical reactions, aren't they?
Yeah, our heart rate and blood pressure increase, muscles tense up, and our breathing can become rapid and shallow. Over time, this can take a real toll on our health. Chronic anger has been linked to high blood pressure, coronary heart disease, weakened immune function, insomnia, digestive issues, and headaches.
And there are also mental health impacts like anxiety and depression, not to mention the damage chronic anger does to relationships. It's why managing our anger effectively is so important.
So let's talk about strategies for managing anger. First off, rage rooms often build themselves as a cheaper alternative to therapy. Is there any truth in that?
Well, rage rooms might be fun and offer some short term cathartic relief by letting people vent their frustrations. But this relief tends to be short lived and doesn't address the underlying causes of anger.
Plus, there's a risk that it might actually reinforce aggressive behavior rather than help manage it. For long term anger management, you've got to address the root causes and learn healthier coping mechanisms.
Absolutely. And one of the first steps is improving your ability to recognize how you're feeling and the psychological and physical signs that you're getting angry. Anger builds over time, so catching it early is key.
If you can spot early warning signs and take steps to calm yourself before things spiral out of control, you have a much better chance of regulating your emotions and preventing impulsive reactions.
The longer you let anger build, the harder it becomes to control your response. We often start imagining the things we're going to say or do, which tends to only fuel the anger.
Related to this, it's also important to identify what's making you angry. But it's not just about external triggers. It's about bringing awareness to our thoughts and beliefs.
Right. The way we interpret a situation can either escalate or de escalate our anger. For example, if you believe that someone is deliberately trying to harm you, you're likely to feel a lot angrier than if you think they just made an innocent mistake.
This is where those automatic thoughts we've discussed in previous episodes come into play. Cognitive distortions like assuming the worst, magnification, or over-personalization can fuel our anger unnecessarily.
Yeah. Recognizing and challenging these automatic thought patterns and appraisals of events can be a very helpful way to manage our reactions more effectively.
Okay, these are all good strategies, but sometimes when we're really angry, cognitive strategies like these can be difficult to do. Let's talk about some immediate techniques people can use when they start to feel angry.
Since it's nearly impossible to be extremely angry and relaxed simultaneously, calming the nervous system is one of the simplest and most effective techniques. It's a good place to start anytime you're angry.
For example, focusing on your breathing in the here and now and taking slow, deep breaths can help you feel more relaxed and get your mind off the angry thoughts. Practicing progressive muscle relaxation, where you tense and then slowly relax different muscle groups in your body, is also recommended.
But it's even more beneficial to engage in these practices preventively. This way, you'll generally feel less on edge and more equipped to handle issues as they arise.
Absolutely. Mindfulness and meditation are helpful here because they increase our awareness of our thoughts, emotions, and responses in the moment, which can help us have more control over how we react to things.
As we've discussed in previous episodes, regular physical activity, getting adequate sleep, and maintaining a healthy diet can help reduce stress, improve mood, and make it easier to handle stressors.
And sometimes, professional help is needed. If you find that anger is significantly impacting your life, it might be time to consider therapy or joining a support group.
That's right.
And that's a wrap. Thank you for tuning in today.
We hope this episode helps you channel your inner Yoda and steer clear of the dark side.
Yoda?
Yeah, the little green sage from Star Wars. He said, "Fear is the path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering."
We're quoting Star Wars?
That's right.
Okay, well, all right, there is a lot of wisdom in the Force. And if you found this episode helpful, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review on your favorite podcast platform.
Until next time, take care you must. Well, you shall be.
Take care and be well.